Good morning. Welcome to Coffee with Ryan. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Let's see if I can fix this camera here. Today, I'm beat. Yesterday, I ran up a mountain, and I do think I wore myself out pretty good. Pushed my body pretty hard. I ran straight uphill. I ran uphill for about 2 miles, like pretty steep. And I was checking my heart rate monitor. What's up, everybody just joining? I'm just shooting the shit until everyone gets here, then we'll get into the good stuff. I was checking my heart rate monitor, and I was hovering steady between like 171, 175. I was doing that for a while. What's going on, Gloff? I saw your question on Discord, so we'll get to that. That's a good topic, that topic you brought up. And then I got up the mountain pretty far, and then I hit this trail that went up into the woods, into the pine trees, and then eventually it looked like there was a peak. I didn't get all the way to the peak. It was like miles and miles up there. But I didn't realize how hard I pushed my body until I was trying to fall asleep last night, and my head was like pulsing, like poof, poof, poof. And then now I woke up this morning and I'm just fucking toast. I have a tendency to overexert myself in exercise. Actually, I don't regret it because it was really great to see how far I could push my body, but it's just not sustainable to do that on a regular. I have to know my own limitations. Gregory Witcher, welcome, my friend. What does the fox say? People ask me about the fox all the time. What does the fox say? I guess the fox says hello. The fox says whatever I want it to say. This is a mask that my partner, my long-term partner, Victoria, girlfriend, made, and she's a pretty talented artist. She does a lot of different stuff, and she was in a pottery class a long time ago. This was years ago, and she made this mask. Now, the meaning of the fox, well, the extent of the meaning is, A, I like it. I think it's aesthetically pleasing. B, there's a whole little live stream I did at one point where someone started calling me Fox. It was like early summer, late spring. They started calling me Fox. And so that whole stream, my name was Fox. And then we looked up the meaning of the fox. I think we looked up the Lakota, Native American translation. And I forget what it was. Actually, let's look that up. But it was something meaningful. Lakota meaning of fox. Let's just look up here. Fox, okay, we'll just do a general. In some tribes, this isn't Lakota, this is general, of Northern California, silver fox is a wise and benevolent creator god. In other tribes, such as Blackfoot and Apache, fox is associated with the fire and the sun. And according to some myths, it was the fox who stole fire to bring to the people. The Arapahoes associate Kit Fox with the sacred pipe. In Northeast, Midwest, and Plains tribes, fox is generally a minor animal spirit associated with intelligence and wisdom who occasionally help people or animals to solve problems or punishes someone careless and arrogant. Among the Quechua and Andean Indians, fox appears frequently in folk tales as a thief and a greedy scoundrel. And seeing a fox is usually considered bad and a bad omen in those cultures. Wow, there's lots of different things that people made up about foxes. Wow. Foxes are so cool. Every time I've encountered a fox, I've been mesmerized. It's not very common to see a fox, but if you ever see a fox, the grace and stealth with which they move is quite impressive. I love animals, though. Generally love animals. I've seen black bear too. That's always an interesting encounter. The baby black bear we saw last August swimming in the taking a bath in the pond, like what's the guy's name from Jungle Book? Baloo. We got some comments here. Gloff says foxes are beautiful. Bears are SUS. I don't know what SUS means, but yes, foxes are beautiful. Dick Justice says foxes are awesome animals. They are sneaky as fuck. Yes, they are very sneaky animals and very fun to encounter. If you ever see a fox, it's just kind of a cool encounter. Gregory says, I had a conversation with one in college. Chittered with me. Hey, it's always fun to have a conversation with an animal. Gloff says sus equals suspect. Bears are kind of sketchy. I get what you're saying now. That's hilarious. They are a little suspect. Yeah, so are raccoons. That's hilarious. So let's get into it. We got a question on the Discord from Gloff. Gregory says, I've got kiddos listening, by the way. All right, I'll try to watch my mouth. I've been known to drop an F-bomb or two, so I'll keep it on under control if I can. Thanks for letting me know. And that's pretty awesome that your kids are listening. All right, so let's see here. Gloff wrote in to the Discord. Where is it? Is it on general? Suggested topic today. Maybe reflect upon the self-authoring program, its psychology, etc. Specifically future authoring, because that's the one I've been putting on the back burner. Then you followed up on that comment with people these days either talk shit. Excuse me, I already screwed that one up, Gregory. It only took me 1 minute. I'm sorry, man. I was just reading someone's comment. My bad. People these days either talk poorly about Jordan Peterson, or have forgotten about Jordan Peterson. The man's self-help is still top notch, no matter where you lie politically. Hi, Edmund. By the way, someone's Gregory says Edmund says hello. I'm guessing that's one of your kids. And I'm sorry, Gregory. And he's 4 years old. Oh, that's adorable. That's great. That's so cool. Okay, so there's two different questions that we could dive into. So self-authoring in general, I think, is a fantastic exercise to get you focused on refining your personality, letting go of old baggage, and moving forward in a clear direction, living the most meaningful life possible. So for me, the future authoring, which is the one that I've done, my past authoring and present authoring stuff I've done through different programs, but it hasn't been the specific Jordan Peterson designed one. For example, doing like 4-step inventory from 12-step programs and other exercises such as that. But I still am considering also doing those other ones at some point, just so that I can be more useful to other people who are doing those. And maybe, perhaps I'll get something totally new out of it that I didn't get out of other programs. But future authoring, well, first of all, it forces you to create a vision of your own potential, of what would the highest image of yourself look like? How would that being act in the world? If you could envision yourself firing on all cylinders, so to speak, what would that look like to you? How would that manifest in the world? So you start with the vision and you work your way into the specifics, and it's very thorough, and it focuses both on where things could go wrong as well as where you could how you could be accelerated and more efficient. So it focuses on the good and the negative within that framework that you're writing in. What's up, Michael? Good to see you. So the value for me of the future authoring is actually having you're having a conversation with your future self, and you're having a conversation with multiple future selves, right? Because you're having a conversation with the future self that didn't fulfill their potential and perhaps even went the opposite direction. And then you're having a conversation with your future self who did. So you're actually having an imaginal dialogue with your potential, which I think is fantastic. And I think what that does is it forces our brains to come up with a pathway to that potential, right? Because our brains are always automatically trying to solve problems for us. If we have something that we program our brain, we say, hey, I want you to figure out how to access this state of being. I want you to be in meaningful engagement. I want you to be peaceful. I want you to be in a flow state. If you really program that in, your brain's going to try to figure out how to make that happen, right? On the other hand, if you have a program that says, that's filled with anger and resentment and bitterness, and you're perpetuating those types of thoughts and those ways of seeing the world, then your brain's going to figure out how to keep that going. So the future authoring program, if nothing else, which is a lot of things, but if nothing else, it's a great way to get your whole psyche firing towards something that you want consciously. This is something I've talked about recently, and I think it bears repeating. So what do they say in neuroscience? 98% of our actions, behaviors, habits are unconscious. That means everything from our breathing to our biological functioning to even our thinking and our body movements, body language. It's unconscious. It's automatic. Only 2% of 2 to 4% of our life is filled with conscious material, things that we're actually generating with our own willpower, our own sense of identity, that stuff. So what that means is that we need that 98% that isn't the voice in the conscious narrative that we're aware of in the present moment. We need that to be automatically working for us. And so often it's working against people. So they think, oh man, why do I keep acting in a way that's going against what I think that I want? It's because the 98%, the part of the iceberg that's under the water, to use the Freudian image, is moving you in the opposite direction, and you're outnumbered. So the good news, though, is that if we program that 98% correctly, it'll work for us. Now, doing something like the future authoring program is going to program that 98%. The more thorough you are, the better. And the more you come back to it, and I'm revisiting it. Actually, I just started, I think it was 10 days ago. I was like, I need to write more. I need to tweak some of these goals that I've written about. So I started rewriting my first one, which was about education. So the more that we engage our conscious minds with intention and fill it with the clarity of a vision that we want, the more that we're going to have that unconscious program working for us. The more that we rest on our laurels and don't command intention into our psyche, the more that it's just going to go where it goes. So it's just going to take the path of least resistance. So I would recommend to those of you who are interested in the future authoring program, really, it'll burn you out a little bit to use that amount of focus. So really pour yourself into it while you're doing it, even if it's just 5 minutes at a time, and really focus. I mean, take your energy. Like, imagine that you are pouring energy into your potential. Really use that type of fervor and commitment. And then once you've put yourself into it, you've given it your all, really focus, then let go. Push yourself to the edge and then let go. whether that's 5 minutes or 30 minutes or however long that is for you. If you repeat that pattern enough, what's going to eventually happen is that will start seeping into that automatic 98%. And then you'll start flowing towards your goals naturally. You won't have to be swimming upstream all the time. That's what we want, right? We want our brains to be working for us, not against us. All right, there's some comments here. Michael says, likewise, long time no see. Just wanted to tune in, say hello, sit back and listen. Fantastic. So glad you're here, Michael. Gregory says, got to be vigilant watching your thoughts. Absolutely. Be very observant. That's a good piece of advice. Gloff says, how often is it that someone is unsure that they're hiding from something? That's interesting. Well, there's layers to that, and only you can really know, right? Like I can't tell anybody else if they really are hiding from something, or if they're so self-critical and paranoid about themselves that they always think there's something wrong with them, and they're overzealously focused on that. So I would say it's all context oriented, like personality type and things like that. But the first question to ask would be, is there something that would be painful that you would want to avoid knowing about yourself? And if that's the case, have you examined those possibilities? Have you examined the possibility that there is something that you're hiding from about yourself or about your life? And really examine closely, what would be the benefit of hiding from it? Are you getting something out of hiding from it? Is there a payoff for you that is protecting you from a painful truth or from some sort of responsibility or trauma, whatever? There's so many possibilities with that question. And to follow up on Gloff's second part, you said people these days either talk poorly about Jordan Peterson or are forgetting about him. The man's self-help is still top-notch, no matter where you lie politically. Okay, well, let's talk about that just for a second, and then we'll get back to the other piece. First of all, I don't know have people forgotten about him? I mean, he seems to be still wildly famous. I could be missing something because I am not listening to Peterson nearly as much as I used to. Used to listen to him, every day, So I could be missing something. And with regards to his self-help, yeah, it's absolutely top-notch, regardless of your political agenda. That's for sure. Ha! Someone in the chat has the Jordan Peterson username. That's pretty cool. What if it really was Jordan Peterson? That would be cool. I hear you moved on from me, bucko. No, I haven't moved on from you, Jordan. Look at this. I've got your books right here. This whole channel is oriented around a lot of your teachings. I'm not moving on, man. Come on, don't say that. Don't be saying that. Oh, man. I hear you moved on from me, bucko. Come on, that's hilarious. You all gotta admit, that's funny. Yeah, I don't think that people forgot about Peterson, but I could have. I mean, maybe you're saying something I'm not, Gloff. But yeah, people do talk a big criticism. People don't really do their research. You know what I mean? People don't read maps of meaning, Okay. People don't read this 450-page textbook or whatever the hell it is. I mean, they don't really want to know what he thinks about the way that human beings work and the mythology of meaning and all. People just want to make an opinion and move on. They don't want to do all that work. Oh man, that'd be too much work. People just want to write people off. So people don't even do their research. Anybody who's read Maps of Meaning, 12 Rules for Life, watched hundreds of hours of his lectures, which granted, I understand that's not a very reasonable request. It's a lot of time. But anyone who's done the research knows whether you think he's right or wrong, he's not a dummy and he's not trying to hurt anybody. He's a good scientist and he's trying to make sense of life and he's doing his best with the information that he's learned. And he's got a very particular way of seeing it. And it helps a lot of people. Now, my recommendation is if you haven't done your research, don't say anything. And we've all been guilty of making assumptions about other people without doing our research. It's human. We love it. We love to have opinions. We love to write people off. We love to be judgmental, right? It's just the way we are, but it's not right. It's not the way that we should be functioning. We got to be aware of that. So, yeah. Okay, let's keep going through these comments. Is that meditation or meditation? I think it's both because when you're talking meditation, there's so many different types of meditation, right? There's visualizations, there's passive, just being aware, proactive. It's not too passive, but it's less about generating something and more about observing what's there. So that's like Vipassana or Shamatha meditation. You're practicing Shamatha. Where you start, and this is Tibetan practice, is you put your gaze about 8 feet in front of you. You know, you sit with a straight posture in a chair on a cushion. You put your gaze on a spot on the floor about 8 feet in front of you, and your only job is to be aware of your breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Every time you watch your mind wander, you come back to your breath. Now, when you practice that often enough, it generates a flow state. And when you're in that flow state, then you are ready to, once you've really mastered that state, you're ready to graduate to Vipassana. You raise your gaze, you take an open vision, and Vipassana it's the clarity that's generated by that practice. So you get to actually ride that out. So you're not as focused on one particular thing. Vipassana is really, you get to bear the fruits of the shamatha practice. So now you can raise your gaze and actually engage the world with this flow state. And you just kind of look in front of you with your eyes straight ahead and let everything sink in. That's a totally different state that gets generated. And that's less structured and more just about being with what's there. And because you're in that flow state, it just happens naturally. You don't have to practice it so hard or focus so much. That's that focus that you did earlier led to that. So that's one side of meditation. Then there's other parts of meditation, for example, where you're doing active visualizations like metta meditation that you talk about. You're doing meditation mixed with prayer where you're creating affirmations and you're being more imaginative, and that's a whole different way of engaging meditation. I think they're all important for sure. Michael says, how often do you revise or read what you've written? Well, for graduate school, I revise. I have to read what I've written every time I write something. If it's just a short writing reflection assignment, I'll usually just read it a couple times. If it's a research paper, I'll grind it out and read it several times. What I do, my writing process on that end is I'll start with a stream of consciousness. So I'll literally write as much as I possibly can. Could be 15, 20 pages. Until I've dumped out all of my thoughts on the particular subject I'm writing about. And I don't care about citations. I don't care about plagiarism at this point. I'm just writing what's in my mind. I'm not overthinking it. So I'm just like, these are the ideas. Then I read it and I'm like, okay, how can I structure this so that it starts looking like an essay? So then I start taking things out, I start refining ideas, and a lot gets pulled out. Tons of stuff gets pulled out. So, and then you're talking about future authoring. Yeah, I should have known that. Okay, let me finish this part and then we'll talk about that. And then pull out, and then I go through and I add citations. So if I see areas where I've used someone else's ideas, I make sure to bring that in. If I need to bring in more ideas, which I always usually do, I do that. And then I just keep going through that circular process until I have a finished product. As far as future authoring, I don't really revise very much. What I'll do is I'll write, and then like I just came back to it, and then I'll see what I would like to add to it and what I need to take out. Like my goals have changed. You know what I mean? Since last year. They haven't changed drastically, but there's been minor shifts because life has changed and things are different, and actually I've accomplished some of the goals, so they've evolved and become more sophisticated, and so I need to go back in there and retweak them. I didn't worry and I'm not saying this is advisable, but I didn't worry too much about spelling and grammar and things like that with future authoring. But I'm sure that's something for some people that they would think is important, but it just wasn't for me. Gloff said, or Gregory says, "You should be a monster." JBP quoting Jordan Peterson. Benjules, hey Benjules, welcome. Gloff says he's sure fallen out of the limelight talking about Peterson. He's not like in he's not like in a bunch of articles all the time maybe anymore. I guess yeah, but he's still selling out theaters, and I guess he's not actively on tour anymore because of his wife's illness. So maybe you're right. Maybe he's a little bit in the background right now. Benjel says, could you talk a bit sometime about dealing with comparison with others? Something I'm having trouble with lately. Sure, I can talk about that right now. I hope you're still here so you can get some of it. But yeah, so it's comparison with others. Something I'm having trouble with lately. Well, if you don't mind, Benjels, if you could add a little bit of context, like without making yourself too uncomfortable, what exactly about comparing yourself with others is bothering you? So that way I could, if I had a little more context, it would help me, but I can just respond generally until I have some more specifics. Whatever you feel comfortable sharing is fine. And I would say in dealing with comparing yourself with others, well, obviously there's the Jordan Peterson rule that I could refer to as a start, which is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, I think, not who others are today. And I think that's a good one is look at your own character arc and see how you're evolving, changing, improving, or perhaps if you feel you're regressing. Now, in comparison with others, this is a big thing that, hey, Anne, I'll get to that question in just a minute. Good to see you. Hey, David, thanks for being here. So, first of all, we have to start with a basic presupposition, in my opinion, and that's everybody is unique. Hey, Grizz, welcome. So, what that means to me is that regardless of what anybody else is doing, you're never going to be that person. You can't be somebody else. It's impossible because, you could look at it from a few different perspectives. One is because even right down to the genome, there are personality predispositions that are unique to people. Two, everybody has a different experience of upbringing, environment. Everybody has a different level of intelligence. Everybody's different capabilities. No, we're not blank slates, right? Like we come into the world with different capabilities. Now that's not to say that nurture is irrelevant. Nurture is very important, very important. But we also have to take into consideration that nobody would ever be the same, even if everybody grew up in the exact same environment. For example, it doesn't matter how hard you try, you're not going to just make yourself into an Elon Musk or a LeBron James. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have goals that are aligned with your interest. Of course, you should have goals that are aligned with your interest, but it does mean we need to understand that everybody has different gifts, everybody has different struggles, and everybody has different capacities. So what that means is basically comparison to others is trivial in a sense that it doesn't matter what somebody else can do. What matters is what can you do, right? Now, there's a difference between comparing yourself to others and taking inspiration from others. I'll give you an example. Wow, Jordan Peterson, such a great speaker. I really wish I could speak that well. I'd love to work on it. Now, that doesn't mean that I think I'm going to be Jordan Peterson or that I'm comparing myself to try to be as good of a speaker as him. But what it does mean is I'm taking inspiration from his capacity. That's different. So I think drawing the distinction, Benjels, between comparing yourself as a way of devaluing your abilities and taking inspiration from others, big difference. And so I think accepting the fact that there's always going to be a difference between me and other people and myself helps me to just embrace all I can do is the best with what I've got. This is me. So if I do my best and I try to become the best I can be, and at the end of the day, I'm still not as good at a particular thing as someone else, you know what? That's just the way it is. That's just the reality of it. And that's okay. So it's a sort of radical self-acceptance, Benjels, that I would encourage you to journal about or confront yourself with in a way of what does it really matter as long as you're doing your best? If you leave it all out there and give it 110% on being the best version of yourself you can be, who could ask more of you than that? Who could judge you really in honesty and say, oh, well, you're still not as good as this guy, or you know what I mean? And you know what? If you do that, in all likelihood, there's going to be some things that you're very adept at, whether they're skill sets or ways of approaching the world, ways of being in relationship to others, mindsets that other people aren't going to have. So that's my take it with a grain of salt for whatever it's worth. That's my tip on comparing yourself to others. It's just be the best version of you that you can be. And the rest is out of your control. Surrender. You have no control over the rest. Okay. I hope you were still here to hear that. All right. I got to get through. What do you think? What do you think, Ryan? What do you think about Ryan being the leader of the Bucko Party? It doesn't seem like that's a question for me, so I'll leave that one. Bucko Party. He hasn't left Dr. J. I've been keeping Tammy in my thoughts with loving kindness, Dr. J. Yes, prayers for Tammy. Michael says, oh no, I read that one. Gloff says, I gotta log off soon, but one last question. Do you find value in rereading the self-authoring? Absolutely. Absolutely find value in that. It's very helpful to see what you've written down and see what vision that brings up for you. I would say that's probably an important part of it is rereading it. David Ewing says, designing your life, dysfunctional beliefs. I think I need a little more context. Anne says, pardon my ignorance, but what is future authoring? Future authoring is, a Longstone answer. It's a future authoring is a program that's part of the self-authoring suite. You go selfauthoring.com, and they're little $15, $10 courses. I think they're $15, and I'll go ahead and post it in the chat here. And the future authoring is it's a particular writing exercise that's designed to get you engaged with a vision for your future and a thorough plan. as well as a thorough connection to your potential. And through that process, what you begin to discover is what needs to fall away and what habits, attitudes, beliefs, actions do you need to embrace in order to make that potential a reality. So it's a very helpful exercise and is based in research about the positive effects of journaling and writing about your future and your goals. Boo, boo, boo. Okay. Grizz is here. Welcome, Grizz. You say, I'm always older than the me yesterday. That's the truth. David says, check out Designing Your Life on YouTube. Basically a higher resolution future authoring program. Fantastic. Check that out. What do the B's in JBP? What do the B's in the JBP name mean? I have no idea. I just always thought it was just a middle Bertrand or something. I think it's a middle name. Or JBP quote from Theo Von. In fact, that you aren't perfect doesn't mean that you are not worth improving. He prefers to go by Jordan B. Peterson because he doesn't want to get burnt out saying his whole name. Got it. Okay, Roger. Welcome, Roger. Roger Knock. I've never seen you here before. Why should I follow your channel? What are you saying that's unique? Honest question. This is my first time watching. That's a good question. What am I saying that's unique? Well, I'll just tell you what I'm doing here. What Mercury Black and I run this channel together. We do vlogs, podcasts, video presentations, and interviews with experts. Live streams are 3 times a week. I do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. We talk about living a meaningful life, sorting ourselves out. We talk about different philosophies, psychology that we're learning. And we just focus on how to live the most meaningful life possible. And sometimes we get abstract. Sometimes we get more concrete. I'm in graduate school studying Jungian depth psychology. So my specialization is moving that direction. I have a very particular way of looking at transformation, and I've been passionate studying the science of transformation for 7 years or so, and so my outlook involves an interdisciplinary study of neuroscience, transformational theory, Dr. Peterson's work, my mentor, Dr. Strachan, Jungian psychology, and some other things, and that's what I'm passionate about. So if you like it, go ahead and stay. If not, then that's totally cool, Roger. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that was a decent overview of kind of what I'm interested in. All right. What else? What's next? Let's see here. Well, any other questions? Any other musings, comments? So what I think, too, you're interested in the transformational theory part? Okay, great. Thomas says, I'm late. Did you teach well? I don't know. Have I been? I think it's just been more of a Q&A today. I don't feel like I've taught much. Roger says, I'm well versed on as a human being who has goals and is in relationships from a neurobiological perspective. So it's a way of, it uses language that's understandable to the layperson, but integrates how does your brain actually work? Because you can't transform without changing your brain. That's just the bottom line. If you want to change as a human being, obviously your brain is what's doing the changing, because your brain makes up tons of the subparts of who you are and maps your actions out onto the world. So you look at, how do you create goals and rituals and practices that are going to reprogram your brain? How do you let go of the old program, right? If we take the brain as a metaphor for a computer, how do you reprogram it, let go of the old program in such a way that would allow you to move forward in the direction that you want to move on? So it involves that. It also involves, you could also say the from a Jungian perspective, the myth, right? in transformation, one of the key things with personal transformation is figuring out what your myth is. What myth are you living? What is your story? What are the images, the figures, the archetypes that bring you into a deeper connection? And how can you bring that story to life on your own personal hero's journey? So you might engage those mythic. I don't honestly, I think I don't understand. I don't even know what the song is, so I'm going to look it up. Raz word play. La 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 la. I've been around the world. I don't even know if I can read the lyrics without getting copyrighted. So I don't know. I don't know how to address that question. I would have to actually like look into it. I have no idea. I have the buffer. Do you has the buffer? Says Grizz. I don't know. Gregory says Miraz is the Wizard of Oz and Oz. Falalas. Oh, I read that. They say I'm all about the wordplay. Grace says I'm refreshed. All is well. Gregory Witcher says Elon Reeve Musk, ERM, Enterprise Risk Management. He is managing the risk to the enterprise that is the continued existence of humanity. Elon Musk is an interesting character trying to get us to Mars. You think he'll do it? I believe he said he was going to try to do it by 2032 to get us to Mars. But I don't know. Well, here's what I think. I want to go back to meditation for a minute because that's the place where my mind is most resonant today. The ability to be in the present moment, in my estimation, is completely underrated. It's not something that's popular. It's not something that's taught in our mainstream Western culture. And it's almost takes the woo-woo end of things, which is just totally opposite from the truth because there's tons of scientific research on the effects of meditation on the brain. It literally grows your neurons and prefrontal cortex. It increases so many benefits that you wouldn't know were happening. But if they've done brain scans on Tibetan monks and other meditators, and obviously if you're interested in the science of meditation, you look into Sam Harris. He's got some good stuff to say about that. But I think one of the distinctions that I think is worth playing with here is we've been, as a society, and this isn't a bad thing. This is just the way it is. This is a Western value system is programmed towards results. So towards doing and actions, right? And so we've neglected the part of ourselves that is more about generating a state of being. Now, in my mind, both of the things need to go together, right? Doing and being should not be mutually exclusive. Doing and being should be married, alchemically speaking, in such a way that we can act in the world from a place of being that is resonant, authentic, meaningful, things like that. So to me, the value of meditation is in the ability to train your mind to, no matter what's going on around you, no matter how busy you are, no matter how stressful things can get, whatever happens, that you have a response that is mindful, aware, present, and in the flow. You're in the flow with that moment. And so you're actually accessing a deeper part of your being that's reading into the field of information, right? Because we're processing, I think they say, 2 billion bits of information per second. I think that's a low estimation. That's let's see here. I want to verify that. Give me 2 billion bits of information a second. Oh, in other words, the human body sends 11 million bits per second to the brain for processing. Yet the conscious mind seems only to be able to process 50 bits per second. Okay, so see that's the 98 to 2%, 99 to 1% thing we were talking about. So my point in saying that is we're processing all this information all the time. We have access to an insane amount of information, and meditation widens the birth of that access canal. So it literally allows more information to come in. It allows us to improve our sense of resources, of what we can draw upon in the present moment. It improves our conversation skills. It improves our actual hard skills, whether we work in a trade or in our career or whatever it would be. All that meditation does is give us access to more information, more connection, more meaning, all that stuff, because it puts us in a state of receptivity. So we're more receptive to information. So what people think of as intuition is actually just more highly complex information processing. So it's not that it's literally magic, okay? And that's a whole different conversation, whether there's a such thing as the metaphysical world of spirituality and magic. We'll put that on the shelf for now, right? That's a different conversation. But just talk about intuition, knowing something, and you don't know how you know it. You're literally just accessing information from your unconscious information processing. And you don't know how you know, but your brain's processing 11 billion bits of information per second. So it stands to reason that you know things that you don't understand how you know them. But people are so simplified in the way they think about it, they just assume you can't know those things. It's like, no, you can. There's a such thing as intuition, right? I can tell you story after story of just things you couldn't explain. And you could say, oh, that's woo-woo, that's magic, and that's fine. But you could also look at it scientifically and saying, well, do I really understand what I know? Do I really understand how I know what I know and when I know certain things, why I might know them? I'll give you an example. Just yesterday, I was meditating, and this is going to sound weird, okay? This is going to sound very weird to some of you. And all of a sudden, my friend flashed through my head, and I had a really strong feeling that he was having a hard day. It's not like he often has hard days. So it's not a normal thing. And I was like, that's weird. I reached out to him on the phone. I texted him. I said, hey, how's it going? He says that he responds in 3 or 4 hours. I'm having a really rough week at work. I'm having a tough day. Explain that. Just explain it. I'm not special. I just meditate. Everybody can do that. I'm not lying. I'm just telling you what happened. I know, I don't talk about this kind of stuff very often, but it's true. That's what happened. Now, you could look at it as something magical, or Ryan's fucking crazy and delusional, or you could just say, somehow he just had information. He picked up on information that he didn't understand how he had it, but he had that information somehow. I can't explain. He lives, 500 miles away from me. I can't explain it. I don't have anything. So, I have tons of stories like that, dozens, and I just can't explain it. But that meditation, man, your brain goes to a place of high, sophisticated, intricate, information processing. And the more you do it, the more you have those types of experiences. Probably shouldn't have said that in public. I don't talk about this kind of shit. It's too dangerous. It just like puts you in such a bad position to talk about shit like this. But why shouldn't I talk about it? I'm having a war with myself. Different parts of me are speaking. One part's like, we shouldn't talk about this. This is putting you at risk. And then another part of me is like, why shouldn't I talk about it? It's just what I'm experiencing. Why should I not say it? What am I supposed to do? Who gives a shit if people don't like it? Anyways, the comments. Wow. Boom, boom. Gregory Witcher, Peterson, son of Peter, Peter 2, bulwark against chaos. Daniel says, what is the topic? I was just ranting on meditation. Gris, I'm going to pass through some of these. Roger says proof on that theory. Which theory? That meditation improves. Hey, what I'm saying, what I just said, that rant I just went on was just all me. I don't have any scientific validation on that. What I do have validation for is the fact that meditation improves many different things, your well-being, it enhances your brain. There's all sorts of things meditation does. Now, the whole intuitive tangent I just went on, no proof. That's just my experience and experience of other people I've been in contact with on meditation. As far as I'm concerned, I can't prove anything about that. Oh, then you're saying you're elaborating that we process more during meditation. I'll have to get you a resource on that. I do think that let's see, meditation increases. Here's one. Meditation increases. Now studies show that meditation can dramatically improve your fluid intelligence fairly quickly. I have to get, there's actual like verified studies on this online. It's been a while. Meditation, scientific benefits. But I don't want to give you some bullshit article that's not really peer reviewed. So it might take me some time. Let's see. All right, let's see here. Many studies have been conducted to look at how meditation may be helpful for a variety of conditions such as high blood pressure, certain psychological disorders, and pain. A number of studies have also helped researchers learn how meditation might work and how it affects the brain. The brain studies were the ones I was talking about. That's interesting. Yeah, but as soon as I started, Roger, as soon as I started going off on widening the information reception, that was all my own stream of consciousness. Everything before that, I had reading and studies that back that up. Anyways, if I find anything, I will post it in our Discord. If you join our Discord, I'll post it in there. But here it's on Psychology Today, which 20 scientific reasons to start meditating, psychologytoday.com. Increases immune function, decreases pain, decreases inflammation, boosts happiness, increases positive emotion, decreases depression, decreases anxiety, decreases stress, more compassionate, more emotionally intelligent, boosts self-control, improves your regulation of emotions. So that's because it enhances your prefrontal and ventral media cortex functioning, which regulates your amygdala, which is your fear response, and your your anger response. Improves your ability to introspect. Obviously, that's part of what I was saying. Changes the brain, increases gray matter. That's the studies that you should look at. The monks who had an increase of gray matter as a result of their meditation. Increases your focus and attention. Improves your ability to multitask. So there's evidence for what I was saying about ability to retain and process more information, multitask. Improves memory, improves your ability to think creatively and see outside the box, gives you perspective. What the fuck does that mean? That's vague. Gives you perspective. Everything gives you perspective. What doesn't give you perspective? Anything you do gives you a perspective. Come on, Psychology Today. You got to do better than that. Well, it gives you a perspective. Just scientific. Fuck. I don't even know if I trust Psychology Today because this bullshit the APA started pulling, but that's a whole different conversation. Let's see. Is Psychology Today related to the APA? Let's look that up. Sorry, I'm going on my own tangent, Roger. Psychology Today and APA? Does anyone know if Psychology Today is part of the APA or if it's a separate? Anyways, I'll figure that out later. That's a personal question. Okay, let's go. Where is the balance? Carissa, welcome, Carissa. Where is the balance between being in the present moment and productively planning for the future? Boom. There's the $1 million question right there. Where is the balance between being in the present moment and planning for the future? Well, the thing is that you can be in the present moment while you're planning for the future, right? Because people have this idea of being in the present moment where it's you're not here. You're not functioning. The real thing about being in the present moment is you're creating new layers of conscious awareness. So it's not that you're not doing something. It's that while you're doing it, your mind is trained in such a way that you have a new detached perspective where you're almost watching yourself perform the act. So you have an extra layer of witness consciousness that allows you a wider range of awareness. So in that wider range of awareness, you're in a totally different state of being. Now, at first, when you just start practicing being in the present moment and meditating, it's going to be very hard for you to do it while you're doing something. That's why you start by just sitting and just being. But once you get more advanced, I can meditate right now while I'm speaking, because all that I need to do to make that a reality is add an extra layer of awareness so that while I'm talking, there's a certain nuance of understanding and seeing and feeling the way that this whole process is happening for me. So I'm aware of my body. I'm aware of the way that the sounds feel coming out of my mouth. I'm aware of the way that it actually sounds to my ears. I'm aware of my movements. I'm aware of my vision. This is just I'm just aware of these things. And through that awareness, there is generated a certain sense of being that's very distinct and different from the average day-to-day consciousness where you're just lost in your process. You're not very conscious of what you're doing. So it's really just about awareness. That changes everything. David says, there's a good TED Talk on mindfulness training. What you practice grows stronger. Lots of connections to what you were discussing. I interpret meditation as pulling warped lens from your perceptions. That's beautiful. Yeah. Kind of peeling back the onion. That's great, David. Roger says, being in the moment while being productive and plan. Grizz says, only productively plan for the future when you're in the moment. Meditation is like an intention control push-up. Yes. Roger says, I know what you're saying. I agree, but the processing doesn't increase. It just moves to different things. I love meditation. Just never heard that description. I don't know. See, I don't know if the processing doesn't increase. I'm not sure if that's the case because, and I could be wrong about this, but my experience with meditation is that I'm processing more with more awareness, the more advanced it gets. But that's just my way of explaining it. And my way of explaining it is a perspective of being. It's not a scientific description. If it was a scientific description, I'd probably come up with a totally different lens to speak through. All right, we got more comments. Gregory says, meditation, don't knock it. Play on words there for Roger Nuck. Morgan Mann says, no, you can't. You set aside time to specifically plan for the future. The rest of the time, you're present with the plan. Roger says, haha. Okay. Carissa says, I looked it up, and Psychology Today is owned and managed by the American Psychological Association, as I suspected. All right. Good to know. Thank you, Carissa. That was very nice of you to figure that out. What am I drinking, or who am I drinking? I'm drinking coffee. Yes, black coffee. Yeah, I would say that you can be in the present moment doing anything. You're always in the present moment. It's just being aware of what you're doing. It's that simple. What are you doing? What does it feel like? What are you noticing? How is that experience impacting you? It's just adding awareness to what you're doing. It's that simple in my opinion, my experience. Thomas Welch says, I think processing with less background noise might be a better description. Yeah, fair enough, man. That might be a better description. Grizz says, do you have any connection to the Masons other than drinking coffee from their jar? No connection to Masons on my end. I have known a couple Freemasons, but I'm not particularly connected to them. Here's what I'll say, everyone. I'll say it one more time. There's the scientific side of meditation. The results have been measured. And then there's Ryan's theory about intuition, which is not scientific. It was just a rant. Let's just draw a line right down the middle here so we don't get confused. Ryan's rant that wasn't well thought through, that was just on the moment, in the moment, spontaneous. Scientific benefits of meditation. Different things. Ryan's rant, up for debate. Scientific benefits, kind of been verified. You know, they're well researched and well documented. How's that? Does that sound good? Now, as far as my theory on intuition, it's not really a theory because it's more of a thought. It's more of an idea. The idea was that we increase processing, that we're able to process more information, more sophisticated, more complicated. That was my way of attempting to explain something I can't explain, post hoc. So I had an experience of intuition, many experiences, as a result of meditation, it seems, because they're directly and tightly correlated, like almost to the point where they have to be causal, it seems. Then I look at that and I say, what's going on here? You know, like why do I have an intuition? Then I prove that it's right. Like I couldn't make that up. Now other people could say I made it up, but I know I didn't, right? Because it's my experience. So that could be a cool research paper I could write. But there's not any research on it, so I'd have to be the researcher, which would be a total pain in the ass. Longstone says, you can hit me up for Masonic questions, Grizz. Thomas says, Ryan's cast iron scientific research, the inane peer-reviewed ramblings. Got it. Oh, fucking A. That's hilarious. Well, I gotta get going, everyone. Roger actually has a great question. Brief intro to transformation theory. Let's pick that up on Wednesday. I'll actually make it if you're here. I hope you can make it. I do this on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 11:30 a.m. I'm gonna make a note right here. If you make it, just try to remind myself. Roger asks for intro on transformation theory. Okay. Wednesday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 9:30 a.m. Mountain Time, and is that 7:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I believe. So hopefully we'll get as many people there as possible. Thank you all so much for joining me. I feel a weird sense of like, I'm feeling a little like I might have said things that I shouldn't have said, but I don't know if that's just my own that could just be my own sensitivity, because I never want to like cross a line in public that I can't undo, but I also want to be honest and authentic with all of you as listeners and friends and audience members. But I also am aware of the danger of saying things publicly without being prepared for the consequences and the defense of those statements. But at the same time, if I'm to be authentic, and if sorting myself out as a channel, as a brand, as a human connection hub center, is really about authenticity and just saying what your experience is, being honest, being transparent, then I kind of feel like the chips will fall where they may. You know, whatever you say or whatever I do, as long as I'm being honest and I'm trying to do the right thing, then the consequences will just be what they are, right? All right, everyone. I got to get going. Sorry for the cursing, Gregory. It's just ingrained in my live stream. I'm very sorry. I'll try to be more aware of that next time the kiddos are here. What's the rubber band method? Let's look that up real quick, and then we'll go. I'm very sorry, Gregory. I really didn't mean to make you uncomfortable or your kids. Rubber band, man. Method. Is that for cursing? I don't see it. Anyways, unwanted thoughts. Snap the rubber band. I see. That's funny. Snap yourself. Well, yeah, I mean, just tell me next time if your kids are here and I'll try. I mean, I usually don't care about cursing. It's just kind of the way I do it on this channel. But if it's something that is really, I value you as a listener, and if it's something that's really important to you, then I'll try to be mindful of it. But just let me know if your kids are here. But today I was not prepared to train myself on that exercise. All right, everyone. See you later.